Hello. In this video, I want to talk about not learning Aseprite all at once, and it's basically what I did. And I will say, I feel like I did learn a lot as I went through, but I guess you could say the important thing is there's a lot that I probably would have solidified a lot better if I would have not done what I've done. The reason why I say that is because when I think of Aseprite, there are many different purposes it serves. I mean, so many. And the things that I've learned is that you have different goals in mind. Like, if you look at the canvas I have right now, oops, I'm going the wrong way. I have a big canvas, and I was thinking that it would be for like a video game screen size. And the reason for that is because it's 640 by 360p. So this is great, but you have to realize that different canvas sizes are for different purposes. And the other thing here is, look, I made it a layer when this really wouldn't be probably the best thing for me to do. I mean, I could if I wanted to play around, but I have to say probably the tile map layer would be the most appropriate for it. I also just realized I made a mistake there. So, in short, different layers for different things. And I guess you kind of have to learn a little bit about all of it before you kind of go in. And it's really frustrating because it's kind of contrary to what I just said. I guess you could say maybe don't learn in depth everything all at once without applying it. I think it's incredibly important that you apply it. Because, there are certain things I've learned over time. Like here, when you put up the grid length for the tile map, this will be so for everything that's going to appear in the tile map atlas on the left, which is just a way to reference the different grids. You'll see that there are these boxes, and all these boxes basically are 16 by 16 pixels. And when I draw here, I learned a lot of keyboard shortcuts as well. You do pick them up over time. So you can think of like this whole thing being the game screen, and if I wanted to make a reusable type of atlas, I would say draw in one cell, because if you draw in a different cell, it'll add a different layer to the atlas. So I'm just doing this as a test, and as soon as I'm not doing it, look, it added to it. And now what I can do is I could reuse that. I mean, you could also flip it to make another one, but just know that each one's gonna be reusable in a way. But you have to think that if you're going to be spending all of your time, dedicating your time to, I didn't delete that as well. If you're going to be dedicating your time to making tile maps, then deep dive into that and focus on that for, who knows, maybe like a week or so. I mean, I'm not saying you have to do all of that forever. But I think it is important to try to stick to one thing, because what I've seen happen to myself is, I try to learn everything and I end up doing nothing. But I guess you could say it's more of a fine balance more than anything. So the other thing here is, unless you're like there's a good chance that you may just use a layer like this for just pure pixel art, compared to like making art for the purpose of like video game assets. Not to say that's not art in its self as well, but I think it is important to be able to kind of differentiate between the two, because they always serve different purposes. Like, you can try to make an animation using a canvas this large. I mean, you definitely can. I know some people probably will maybe more interested into like actually making art with it, like making like, say, landscape art, and they may want to draw clouds or something like that. They may want to draw, stuff in the distance, maybe more hills, stuff like that. They may want to draw, like, I don't know, a house up close, or, something along the lines of that. There's a lot that you can do with this program, and I have to say, it could be incredibly, incredibly overwhelming, just because of the sheer amount of options everyone has that they can use. And like I said, I think it's important to find something and try to stick with it for a little while. in some of my personal endeavors, I've seen myself kind of going all over the place, and it's like I become like, okay, wait, how do I use this again? And obviously, the more you use it, the more you'll understand it. I think originally I was thinking of making notes, but I found that it's just better to refer to the Aseprite documentation. They have a website. I'll have to put a link in the description for it. They have like documentation to everything, and in general the instructions are pretty good. But I've made a couple other tutorial videos on how to explain some issues that I thought were not they didn't really go in depth for some issues. I mean, or they did, but I feel like they kind of went too fast in explaining it, or like certain things are a bit complex. My main thing was when they were explaining how to move layers. Like, it's really hard to do it because you have to just select one, but I wasn't exactly sure where to drag it. And the funny thing is, probably if you're using a mouse, just a computer mouse, it's easier to see it than if you're using a stylist like I am. Like, I use a pen stylist on a digital drawing tablet, so I look and see directly where I'm drawing. So the problem with that is when I'm hovering over the proper area right here, I can't see it because my pen's in the way, because the cursor appears on the lower right, and I really couldn't see that special icon that says, oh look, you could move it. It has a move icon, the move tool icon, on under the right side of the cursor, but normally I didn't see it. I thought it was just a larger arrow. It didn't really differentiate to me in any way. So yeah, there's a lot. I hate to say it, but like even when dealing with colors, I mean, heck, you can go into a whole rabbit hole of setting preferences. Like, I like the dark mode. I mean, I guess you could say do a little go around and just accept that you're probably going to forget some stuff that you're going to have to redo. And probably different people have different workflows. Like, I'm still trying to learn a lot of the keyboard shortcuts, and I've seen myself using them a lot more now. Initially, I thought, okay, it's ridiculous with how many shortcuts there are. But I've realized that no, I really like using the shortcuts compared to having to either find the setting like in a long menu up here or having to go to the right side over here. But yeah, it's just, I guess you could say the struggle in it is that there's too many options. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, just like this program is trying to be everything to every type of pixel artist, and it's great for it and it works. I mean, I have to say, there are a lot of like big pain points, like compared to Microsoft Paint. When you're organizing colors like over here, like, and I guess you could say in the old day you had to have a physical palette, or you just draw the colors on the canvas and you would save it that way. But here you could modify the colors. You can like save it, create a new palette, or even use your current sprite to make a palette. You can get rid of colors. You can make new ones, even though that was a little bit confusing at first, but there's just so many options that make all of this really great. And I guess you could say that I think to people who are experienced and who actually have put in the hours to creating pixel art of all sorts, probably appreciate this a lot more than people who are first being thrown into it, and they're kind of they get too overwhelmed by all of the options. I mean, like, I will say one thing is that, there are just, for the newcomer, there are way too many options when it comes to everything. I mean, like, it is a bit, it's great. Like, I see the benefits to it, but I think people who are starting right off the bat aren't going to have any type of workflow. They're not going to understand the pain points that it solves, and they're just kind of being presented all of the information all at once. So that's kind of the big struggle with it all, because it looks a bit overwhelming, but but you can do it. I guess you could say handle one thing at a time, and maybe spend longer on that. Personally, what I plan to do soon is spend a lot more time on trying to do an animation of some sort. I learned about that. I learned about onion skinning, but I've always wondered if it's dangerous in any way for myself because I don't have traditional animation experience. But I guess every medium's different, and it's probably not. It's probably best not to get hung up on that. Coming from that, I will say the other thing, like, do follow online tutorials, but the second you get stuck on something and something's not clear, try to figure it out. Like, don't let that slip by, because if you do, you will, when you come back to it in the future, you will be incredibly confused. Like, if I could give an example, well, I guess if I had to give another example, let me just make a new one, 32 by 32. So I'm in here. I just made a quick 32 by 32 grid, and something that really baffled me at first was how to deselect the magic wand tool. Because let's say I have this stick figure, or let's say I have this stick figure and I want to use the magic wand tool to just select a portion of it. Well, it selected too much in that instance. Well, I'm probably using it wrong. Maybe I was thinking about the lasso tool. Yeah, I just wanted to select that part, and great, I could, maybe I copied it. This is the background, so like another mistake that I just made. Don't work on the background, always make a new layer. So I'm going to make a quick stick figure again. I'm going to just draw him. And I wanted to use the lasso tool, and it's like when I use the lasso tool and I selected it, well, I can move it, great. But look, it's still selected. So the thing is, I wanted to draw, so I would always hit the pencil tool to draw, and I'm like, hey, I can't draw. And I got stuck on that for a while. I'm like, what the heck happened? So I closed my program and reopened it, and I tried it again, and I realized that that's not going to work. I need to learn how to stop that selection from happening. It's really annoying that you kind of get locked into it, and there's nothing on the screen that says, press Control D to deselect it. Because when you do that, that stops you from using the lasso tool when you had something selected. So yeah, do be aware of things like that. Don't let hiccups like that stop you from progress, and do understand that maybe you may want to look at the Aseprite documentation for it, because it can help you, or you may need to look at another type of tutorial to try to figure it out. And I guess the other thing that I'll say is do try to learn about the dimensions you may need. There are various ways to work with something, and sometimes different resolutions for different images serve different purposes. So as I was kind of saying before, I have this 640 by 360 pixels screen, and I was thinking of that for some type of it can upscale properly to better resolutions. So I guess you could say I should have kept that open, but I had the 32 by 32 canvas open from before, and a big reason why I use something of either base 2 or something like this, it all has to do with upscaling, because the problem is when you're dealing with computers understand base 2 a lot better. When it comes to upscaling. So if you use a canvas that was maybe 31 by 31, when you upscale it, if you do upscale it, nothing says you have to, but if you do ever upscale it in any way, it's gonna look weird. You're gonna have issues with how it looks, because if it's not an even base 2 number, it's going to upscale improperly, and it's going to look off, and you're going to have certain pixels that look wrong, and you may have color issues with your art, and yeah, there's a whole slew of stuff when it comes to that. So there's one thing understanding Aseprite, there's another thing understanding what canvas sizes you should use, which canvas sizes you shouldn't use. Heck, how useful could a canvas size that's 1 pixel by 1 pixel be? Look, the program allows me to make it. Should I? It doesn't mean I should. I don't know. Maybe it can be useful to certain people for some purpose, but for the most part, It's really hard for me to see the use for it. I mean, I'm pretty sure it can definitely help with something. Maybe you wanted to make a cursor that was 1 pixel wide, and maybe that's why you wanted to do it. Then it serves a purpose. So just be aware of all of this. Don't worry about not knowing everything at once, but you know that you can learn it as you go. Yeah, but maybe it's even best not to try to learn it all in one day. From my experience, I've realized that I've spent about 2 weeks so far trying to learn all of it. There's still a lot that I don't know that I need to know and learn. I mean, there's a lot that I don't know about color theory that I still need to know. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of other settings in Aseprite that I still don't have knowledge of, but I will eventually get. So accept it, go one step at a time. Don't try to learn it all in one day or you will learn nothing. I mean, you may learn something, but I feel like you won't be learning as effectively. That's how I would say it. You won't be learning as effectively. You'll definitely learn something, but you won't, you may not understand it to the level of actually being able to do. Like, doing is like 10 times, maybe even 100 times more difficult than just watching a video and tutorial on doing it. Like, you also have to do it as you go through the tutorial. So it's like, if a tutorial is 10 minutes long, there's a good chance you may spend even longer. Like, you may need to pause the video to apply something you just learned, or try to do it along with the video, you know, things like that. Or you may get stuck and you may have to take a half-hour break to kind of figure out how to do the deselection. And I speak from experience on that. Yeah, can you believe it took me so long to figure out how to do that? I'm also in the background again, but yeah, there are little tips you'll learn as you go. But yeah, thanks for listening. If you like the video, please like it. If you like my channel, please subscribe. If you have a question, please ask in the comments. I'll try to include a link to Aseprite and the documentation Aseprite below, if that helps. And you can also check my other Aseprite playlist on my channel for more general information about it. I think I'm using version 1.3, I think. Yeah, 1.3. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. Bye.